Welcome everybody to the RM Sotheby's Car Show live podcast on YouTube. Here I am at Cliveden House in a Ferrari 330 GTS. Stunning car, one of the star lots. And up ahead of us is the very, very famous Cliveden House Hotel. Cliveden House, very famous UK country home for lots and lots of reasons. Lots of political intrigue. Back in the 1960s, fabulous place. And it's auction day tomorrow. And we're going to take a little bit of a behind the scenes look at what Cliveden House has to offer. So we are now rolling into the auction area. The cars are all on display outside. The auction itself is going to take place in a marquee that we've just driven past. And here we are on the main driveway of Cliveden House Hotel. Absolutely stunning. It is raining, so there are some plastic covers on cars. I'm not sure how many you can see from the cockpit of the car, but we're just gonna come around. Oh, I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. And obviously I'm not gonna crash this star lot. Perhaps this is a good place to park. I believe the rain may be stopping. So here we are, yes, as I said, Cliveden House Hotel, beautiful country home. We're only on the edge of London. We're not, it's sort of 40 minutes outside central London. It's right on the, oh, let me get this right, Berkshire, Buckinghamshire borders. I think that's right. Don't walk into that Ferrari, Johnny. And we are surrounded by cars. We have all sorts of things. What I really like about this sale is that we have a bit of everything. So we've got a couple of pre-war Austin 7s, for example. £6,000–7,000. We've got plenty of other bigger pre-war cars, 8-litre Bentley, we've got a 6.5-litre Bentley, we've got some beautiful sort of, I mean, this Rolls sedan car. So what we're bargaining on is that the sun is going to shine on the righteous tomorrow. Britain is going to do what it knows it can do in June, and the sun is going to come out. And this drizzle is going to disappear. So all of these cars are going to be bathed in beautiful, glorious June sunshine. But we do, thankfully, have a marquee. And the marquee is where the auctioneer is going to be standing. And that is where the auction will be conducted. So even if it is raining, the audience will not get wet. More cars. On display down here, we've got a terrific lineup. Tomorrow, we've got a big display from the Supercar Driver. The Supercar Club in the UK is putting on a really terrific display of members' cars down that driveway where we've just driven up in the Ferrari. Can we get in here, Johnny? Let's have a look. I'm to see if we can sneak through here. No, we can't sneak through there. Every time I try and beat the system, I fail. These are the Austin 7s. Look at that. Austin 7 Chummy, one of my favourite cars. Do anything with that. Fabulous car. Very, very cheap. Good value, not cheap. More cars being unloaded. Or new Boxster RS. Ooh, that's super rare. You can't buy one of those. You can buy one tomorrow here. Delivery mileage. This is where the magic happens. Look at these packing cases. This is where all of our kit comes from. That's bidder registration over there. That's where anyone that wants to bid tomorrow can register. And what we've got the memorabilia in here. Look at all this wonderful stuff. The Terry Cardy collection, we've got toolkits, Bugatti memorabilia, fabulous old photographs and posters. Nigel Mansell, world champion in 1992. Now here is his remaining memorabilia. We've already sold a lot of it. But we've got some terrific stuff. Lots of caps, lots of pictures, paintings, crash helmets. We like these. A few of us on the team love these. Marlborough paddock jackets. Perfect for a ski holiday. Not necessarily what everyone wants to do, advertising a cigarette brand, but they're very cool, very retro. And in a moment, I'm going to go and sit down with car specialists Will Smith and Felix. If I can find them. So stay tuned. In a moment or two, you're going to find out if I can find them, but I believe that's going to be the case. Stay tuned. It's an opportunity for us to talk about all manner of things. So we're talking about the market. We're talking about the cars we love, the cars we don't love. We try and deliver it with a bit of humour.
I know what you're going to say.
All you get with the Ferrari is 12 cylinders more of anxiety, doesn't it? I mean,
Largely.
Speaking as an owner.
Yeah.
Some of our jokes are terrible, and of course, we have some special guests. We also did a special episode from the Mercedes Museum in Stuttgart. That recording was done shortly after we had sold the Mercedes 300 SLR Uhlenhaut Coupe, which was sold for 135 million euros.
What?
Imagine going to a pub with 2 or 3 friends, and that's exactly the way we try and do these podcasts.
Cheers. 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 Thank you for joining us on our live podcast from here in Cliveden House Hotel. I'm here, and you've seen them before. Felix Archer, car specialist. Will Smith, car specialist. Gents, first time to Cliveden House. Nice to have come to an auction and not got on a plane, don't you think?
Actually, sorry, my wife said to me this morning, "What country are you going to today?" I was like, "I'm not. I'm going to Cliveden House."
I love packing when you know you don't have to go through security. Just chuck it, whatever.
Also nice to be doing a UK auction not in the dark.
That's true, actually.
We've always had a London auction in the autumn, which is great.
Yeah.
But we've always had that thing of great to do
we've
summer
not done.
auction.
We did a salon privé summer auction many years ago.
Ooh, that was like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. That was the only kind of sunny one we did. It would be nice to say, wouldn't it, that not only is it nice to not be doing an auction in the dark, it would be nice to say it's nice to do one when it's not raining.
But we've had all the weather today.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have.
But that is the nature of the beast
I
when
think
you
it's
live here.
fair to tell our listeners, viewers, that it has been drizzling a little.
Crucially, though, tomorrow is going to be absolutely fine, I'm told, by
The Met
Caroline
Office.
from BBC Weather.
Oh, okay. Well, that's good, because I, for one, have come in a car that, if it continues to rain, will be red oxide filings on the gravel by tomorrow morning.
Yes.
If it doesn't stop raining. So, no, all good. But Cliveden House, so if you're British, you might have heard of the Profumo affair. If you're not British, you probably haven't, because it's a bit, UK-centric. But that kind of... This place, when it was a private house, was the epicenter of the Profumo affair.
Yeah.
I know we're not talking about cars, but it's quite interesting. So the background there is that John Profumo, senior politician in the British government cabinet, I think he was the war minister.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
This is the 60s. He meets a young lady by the swimming pool here called Christine Keeler.
Famous model-ish.
Yeah, sort of, well, and a sort of...
Ish.
Yeah.
Struggling model.
Depending on what media you consume, obviously. Yeah. Well, and but they got together, embarked on an affair. He was married, of course, inevitably, being a Tory politician, standard, and he had an affair with Christine Keeler. It started here. Turns out she was also having an affair with a Russian naval attaché or something like that. And then there were all these accusations of spying.
Yeah.
Secrets passing back and forth. And it ended his career. But there's been a few
What about Keeler's career, though? Because I feel like...
Well, it was the making of her.
was on the up and up after that.
Well, I think she just became a well-known personality.
Well, there's that famous picture of her with the famous chair.
On the chair, which I think is a David Bailey photograph.
Yeah, David Bailey photo of her in the chair, fully naked, but you can't see anything.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
Yeah. But it was lots of intrigue. And I think the point about that is that here we are, what 60 years later, and they're still making TV shows about it. Yeah. There was one recently.
There was,
yeah. That was really good.
Really.
Anyway, that's enough of that. Cliveden House.
Yeah.
Here we are. Lots of good stuff. We're in the auction room, which is a marquee on the lawn. And we've got a bit of memorabilia around the room here. And we'll talk about that in a mo. We've got all the cars outside. We can't really house them under cover. Hence, we want it to be dry and sunny tomorrow. We're going to move on to the cars, because we've got some great cars. Memorabilia. I'm going to point at Felix, because we are on our third tranche, well, no, hang on a minute. Our second tranche of Mansell memorabilia, Nigel Mansell memorabilia, the sort of third Mansell sale, if you take it on from the cars that we sold in Monaco a couple of years ago, everything up to now, the cars, the last lot of memorabilia went phenomenally well, proving that Nige is still a man that people love and want to buy into. So this is kind of the end of the Mansell. He had a lot of stuff, didn't he?
He had a lot of stuff, and he still has quite a lot of stuff. So I don't know if we can.
Is there going to be? There's going to be part 4.
Yeah, I think there might be a part 4. But actually, so the first sale was the Saved by the Bell. Was the memorabilia which included his trophies throughout his career. Well, let's say 90% of the trophies throughout his career. He kept a few, and there's a few that have gone into this sale.
And they were mega.
And they were phenomenal. And his race helmets, his race suits, basically anything involved with his throughout his motorsport career. That went phenomenally well. And as a result, he has entrusted us with some more items. We've got about 50 lots. But I actually think there's some real gems in here. There's a lot of... The thing that was great about it is there was a lot of stuff that we couldn't bid on the cars. The cars were way above our price bracket. But there's items in there that people like us and the nation and his fans around the world could actually buy a piece of his career. And so we've got quite a lot of clothing, hats, some amazing Marlborough jackets from his McLaren year in '95.
Well, we're thinking of, upcoming ski trips and things, aren't we?
Exactly.
Because we want to hit the slopes in
Because no one got injured on the last one, did they?
in red Marlborough.
Yeah, so we need the people that got injured last time to be seen. But the difficulty is that whenever we are interested in something, it's usually the item that goes the most ballistic.
Yeah.
You see, this is the thing. I mean, Felix, you remember you and me driving in Mark Donaldson's van to Le Mans, browsing the Freddie Mercury sale items that Sotheby's offered, and we're looking at the Tiffany moustache comb.
Yes.
What did we think we could buy that for?
I think we said sort of a couple of £100.
Couple of £100. And what's not to like about Freddie's moustache comb if you can buy it for 200 quid?
That's definitely been touched by Freddie.
Yeah, definitely. He was combing his moustache every morning with that. What did it make? 120.
Ridiculous.
I mean, it was
thousands and thousands.
Yeah, it was like over 100 grand.
I wanted to bid on his ashtray, and there were loads. So I thought, there's got to be one of them. But I think they made 3,000 each. Anyway,
but this is the thing. So I mean, I think for anybody listening today who fancies a bit of a punt on some of Nigel's stuff, because we've got Nomex underwear, we've got caps, we've got jackets and other sort of branded clothing. We've got lots of pictures, and I mean, there's some great stuff. Some of the estimates are really low. Some of it's to make it manageable to sell. We've bundled stuff together, haven't we?
Yeah.
I wager, I'm not discouraging anybody from having a cheeky bid, and I think everyone should, because you never know what's going to happen. But I think those red Marlborough jackets that you and I happen to like very much, I think they're going to go crazy.
Yes.
I don't think we're wearing those skiing, are we?
Extremely confident those are going to go far beyond our price point.
What's the other jacket that we like?
The other jacket is the Honda era.
It's a bit disco,
fur-collared vinyl jacket, which has got Nigel on it. But that's that's the only one that we're selling today. But it's amazing. There's so many Canon items, Canon Williams, Fred Perry jumpers from when they had the sponsorship deal with Williams. It's very merch heavy, but I actually think that's really cool because, low estimates for £50, anyone's invited to bid.
Also, he seems to have just kept everything.
It's really cool.
We
kept everything.
Felix and I went to Jersey, where he had a premises where a lot of this stuff was.
It was unbelievable. That first time,
it was
you
crazy,
can imagine there was
wasn't
all the cars lined up, and that alone was mind-blowing. And then just racks of helmets that were just pebble dashed and race used, and steering wheels, and he kept we're selling the wheel that he hit the wall in at Indy 500 at 210 miles an hour. It's incredible.
And the thing was, he had this Ferrari briefcase, which we sold last time round for quite a lot of money, but we couldn't open it because the the combination. We got into it eventually, but then you open up and there's like a. Do you remember Virtue phones? Those very expensive mobile phones, and there was a Virtue phone in there that had his name engraved on the back and stuff like that. And so everywhere you looked, there was this sort of amazing stuff. Not to mention how many sets of golf clubs.
A lot.
It must have been like 70 sets of golf clubs. Anyway,
but no, we're really happy that he's entrusted us to carry on selling his, quite frankly, incredible collection.
Yeah, it is a real privilege, and I hope it does really, really well. It should do, and I have every confidence. So we've got a bit more memory. Well, there's various bits of memorabilia, and not all of it's coming from collections, but we also have a collection from a gentleman called Terry Cardy. Now, Terry Cardy, I remember as a VSCC member since I was a child, because of my dad, going to race meets, and particularly I remember going to Prescott Hill Climb and seeing a Type 35 Bugatti driven exceptionally well, often the fastest time of the day.
Really?
And that was Terry Cardy. Well, he was a very good driver.
He also had great taste in memorabilia, because like some of these posters and pictures that he's got in are just, I mean, fantastic.
The posters and the pictures are absolutely terrific. Inevitably, there's a bit of a Bugatti memorabilia. There's a steering wheel and there's a radiator, isn't there? And there are other bits and bobs. So that, I mean, for anybody that's into pre-war Bugattis is familiar with Terry Cardy. So I think that will all go really well as well. So that's the memorabilia, which is kind of surrounding us in the marquee. Let's move on to the cars. Now, for anyone watching this, they will note that because we are rank amateurs, we have notes.
Clearly.
Because I can't ad-lib my way through this. I'm just not that skilled. Which is why I don't have a job in TV. But consulting my notes, we've selected... Oh, no, hang on a minute. Before we move on to the cars. Yeah. Oh, I nearly forgot. Michael Schumacher's gloves.
Yeah. They're quite...
We need to talk about those.
They're quite kind of important gloves, Felix, aren't they?
Yeah, so used in 1994 and gifted by Michael Schumacher to the consigner. And 94 was his first championship. A controversial championship because... this is not to downplay it, because it's part of what became an incredible legacy. It was a championship that was won under controversial circumstances, whether you're a Schumacher fan or a Hill fan. Adelaide, we were debating before the podcast even started as to what really happened. In a car that was maybe illegal, but was never protested. But either or, it was the beginning of total dominance and worn by a man that completely changed the face of what a Formula One driver was. So a really important and quite significant piece of memorabilia.
And he wore, the gloves we're offering tomorrow, he wore those gloves in the Adelaide Grand Prix the year that he had the coming together with Hill and secured the championship.
Yeah.
And it was a bit of that was very much a Senna Prost moment.
Almost, although we were debating this earlier, and I said, like, at the time, there were lots of expletives getting shouted at the television as massive Hill fans. But in hindsight, and looking back at it, just looks like Schumacher kind of parked his car, or positioned his car, shall we say, in the perfect zone to basically call it a racing incident. And that's, I think,
That's a talent.
Quite a talent. Because, yeah, I think a lot of instances like Prost, Senna, they are literally just smashing into each other, and there's very little kind of subtlety to it.
It was less subtle, but Michael Schumacher did like a little bit of a kind of a moment where he could sort of... Do you remember at Monaco? It was at Rascasse, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And he sort of just essentially pretended he didn't have any more steering lock and couldn't get around, and sort of parked the car and screwed qualifying for everyone else.
Well, there was, and nothing quite like the Villeneuve incident, because that truly was on purpose. But doesn't take away from the fact that these are amazing things.
No, they are. Those are proper historic items, those gloves.
And actually, I think the controversy elevates the item even more.
It does. And the consigner, the lady consignor was someone that really got to know Michael when he came to England, and like used to sort of wash his clothes and wash his race suits for him, and like really looked after him, cooked for him, and then he gave her those gloves as thank you.
A meagre 5,000 to 10,000 British pounds, gentlemen, as an estimate. So I think they can do that all day long.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the cars. Now, I said in my little intro to this broadcast that what I really like about this sale is the diversity of cars, and it's really unusual, isn't it, for us at RM Sotheby's to have a couple of cars that are estimated at £6,000. And we've got a couple of Austin 7s outside.
Yeah.
So we've got everything from a couple of really lovely, actually, delightful little pre-war Austin 7s that have a very modest estimate, right the way through to some much more expensive pre-war cars, to some absolutely sort of classic Colombo V12 Ferraris, through to a Bugatti Veyron. And a Boxster RS outside, which is essentially a brand new car. So we've absolutely got everything here. We've got, whether you've got, well, in fact, the Veyron's not the most expensive car, is it? But we've got everything from £6,000 to potentially 5 million, and everything in between, covering all the decades. So it's mega. Yeah. So everyone should get involved, because you can't often say this for us, because it's not typical that we've got sub 50, 60 or even £100,000 cars, but we have here, which is great, and I love that. But we've got there's a few cars that we are going to talk about a little bit. Ferrari 330 GTS.
Yes, it was actually one of the early consignments. We consigned a collection from a gentleman called Mr. D, who is the owner of the 330 GTS and the 250 Lusso, bodied by Fantuzzi, and 4 other cars as well. And even that is super diverse. There's a one owner from new DB7 Vantage. We don't often sell DB7 Vantages, but it's a lovely example. So he's entrusted us with this 330 GTS, which is a really, really lovely car, fully restored by GTO. And the Lusso was fully restored by DK Engineering. Really, really wonderful examples of the mark. The Fantuzzi bodied car is, let's say, it's the most Marmite of all the Lussos.
I really like it.
I think you either don't get it at all, or you really get it. And it's been on the concourse circuit in the UK, and he's ready to say goodbye to it and send it off to a new owner.
Well, as a few people have said, I think for obvious reasons, when you look at the car, it's for the GTO fans that can't afford the GTO, which frankly is pretty much all of us.
Yes.
Or just people that just want something slightly different.
Yeah.
Like, there's something like 250 Lussos or so that you can buy, but there's only one like that.
Yeah. And it's been like that since a year or two into its life. It's pretty much always been like that. And it looks like that LMB 330.
Yeah.
It's a really cool thing.
It is good. I think they're both terrific cars, as you say, from the same collection, the same owner. And I think that they're both in beautiful condition. The GTS, I think, we talked a little bit about this, I think, in Monaco when we were talking about the Series 1 PF cab looking clearly not cheap, but relatively good value versus relative to a Cal Spider. When you start looking at a 330 GTS, because the 330 GTS is a mega spec mechanically, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, that's a powerful engine. It's got a lot in common with the late 275s, hasn't it? And it's just beautiful to look at. And okay, so £1.5 million is not. We're not in bargain territory here. But again, it's a lot of.
If you jumped out of a 250 short wheelbase Cal Spider, for which we're selling one in Monterey, and jumped into that, I actually think the GTS would probably drive better than the Cal Spider.
Yeah, and it's a great colour as well.
Love that.
And the Lusso's beautiful as well. I think the Lusso's got some really terrific angles. I think that the rear 3/4 is a great angle of that car.
Yeah.
Really,
exactly.
That's what sets it apart. And in fact, I think our viewers can see that car on the screen at the moment on their feed. But what makes it very GTO-like are those three
3 vents at
the 3 vents in the nose of the car, which again you wouldn't ordinarily find on a.
I actually drove it during the photo shoot, and I must say, you know, when you get into a car and you immediately just bond with it because, you know, the throttle response is just like immediate, and it just the controls are very light, and you just drive it and go immediately within 5 yards of driving it. You go, this is a well-sorted car.
Yeah.
And that was the Fantuzzi.
I haven't had the luck to drive that, but anyway. So those are two very big ticket items, and we've got another very big Ferrari that we'll talk about in a moment or two.
But the next car actually is pretty much a fan favourite.
Yeah, amongst all the specialists.
Yeah, amongst everyone.
Yeah. I mean, this is part of a. So we're talking about a Sunbeam Tiger Mark 1, and this is part of a little sort of parcel of cars which I've been quite involved in bringing to the sale because it's a collection of cars owned by some old friends of mine. But what's beautiful about this Tiger is that Andy and Stuart, who own it now, 2 brothers, their dad, it was their dad's car, and it was his 21st birthday present.
Wow.
Which is a pretty impressive.
That's pretty good.
I mean, I think I got a tankard for my 21st birthday.
Isn't it like 20,000 miles on the clock or something?
Yeah, there's about 20,000 miles. So it's hardly been driven. What year is it? I'm just going to have to say 65. So that makes it 5 years older than me. So it's 59 years old, that car. So in 59 years, for a car to have driven essentially 20,000 miles is unreal. It's, to the best of my knowledge, it's never had paint. It's never had trim. It's never had anything. It's on the standard wheels. And as a few people have said, it's unrepeatable. You can't find... It's showroom fresh.
Yeah.
And you know how... This is a bit kind of geeky, but you guys will know what I mean. You can see a mint car that's been restored. And it is lovely. But you know it's been restored because generally cars that have been restored expensively are in far better condition than they would ever have left the factory when they were brand new.
They're just a bit fresh.
So chrome is better now than it probably would have been when it was new, and no,
the vinyl's not quite the right.
Yeah, normally they would have scrapped the vinyl and put leather in because it's not that much more expensive to do that, right? And modern paint is incandescently shiny in a way that 1965 paint wouldn't have been. That is mint, but in a beautiful original way.
I think it could surprise a lot of people tomorrow because Tigers in the UK don't make huge money. In America, they make more, but
well, and for the benefit of listeners or viewers who don't know what a Sunbeam Tiger is, so the British sports car manufacturer Sunbeam. They had a car, a well-loved car, the Sunbeam Alpine, which was
a Bond car.
What a Bond car, Dr. No.
Yeah.
So big driving, like it was like a gorilla driving in some sort.
And that had quite a modest. Oh my God, I should know this. Was that a 4-cylinder or a 6-cylinder? I can't remember.
Alpine was 4.
Was it a 4?
Yeah.
So quite a modest engine. So looks good, not mega quick or anything. The Tiger visually looks the same, but it's got a Ford V8. So it's kind of, it's a Cobra engine, essentially.
Cool.
It's one of those moments, though, when you can genuinely say to anyone that's wanting a Sunbeam Tiger, you will not find another one like this. Maybe ever.
Yeah.
It's just how many of them are one family only from you and this original.
Yeah. And that's and again, I it's a relatively modest estimate on that car. It's 50 to 70, which frankly, if it was any other Tiger in decent condition, the estimate would be similar. So this is the car to buy if you're in the market for one of those. So mega, we love that. From the same collection, I won't say too much about this because pre-auction it's had quite a lot of publicity, but we've got a beautiful 8-litre Bentley owned by the same family. But not only was so Andy and Stuart, some friends of mine who are selling these cars, not only had it been their father's, it had been their grandfather's. And he had bought the car in the 60s from Neil Corner, who most collectors will know of because he's owned some of the best cars in the world. And it's not the original body. It's an open sports body, much like a Le Mans Van den Pla, but which is unusual on an 8-litre, but that body's been on the car since the early 60s. And I've driven that car, and it's mega. It's got, 8 litres. It's not a small engine, is it?
No.
And it's got so much torque. And with a body that's relatively light versus what an 8-litre would normally have, it's got mega performance.
Yeah.
So, and the leather's all, it's got lovely patina, and it's great. And I think hopefully that will do well tomorrow. Big pre-war cars aren't always, fair to say, not always the easiest cars to sell across the board. But I think
that one's a particularly good one.
It's rare. They made 100 8-litre Bentleys in period, and there are, I think, somewhere between 50 and 60 are left. So, they're not growing on trees exactly. So if you want anyone that wants to indulge in, their pre-war Le Mans fantasies, that might be a good car to buy. We're rattling through these, boys, aren't we? We are at Nabat. Will, let's talk about the 2014 Bugatti Veyron Grand Sport Vitesse.
Yeah.
This car looks so good in the flesh. It looks so good. I actually think it's probably the nicest Veyron I've ever seen.
And it's a mega spec, isn't it?
Yeah. There are some
mega spec.
There are some really bad spec Veyrons.
Really it's sort of like strawberry and cream, sort of red and just horrible spec.
It's weird though. It's playing on the VT now. It is blue.
Well, it's blue and black.
It's blue and black, but from a few paces back, it's very dark.
If it just whizzed past you, you'd be like, oh, there's a black Veyron.
Yeah.
No, it's special because it's for a Grand Sport Vitesse, which was the Targa top variant of the Grand Sport.
The fastest convertible in the world.
At the time, 1,200 horsepower in a convertible. Sounds pretty scary to me. But it's just an amazing technical tour de force. I think VW lost money on every single one they sold. And this particular car was optioned with something like 375,000 euros worth of options, which included that naked carbon body, the kind of interior, Hermes style interior. And it's just a unique spec. I don't think I've seen another one. I don't think we're likely to see another one like it.
Was that originally a UK car?
It started life in the UK in 2015. There's some conjecture as to in 2014, because when it was built, I think it was a cancelled order that was going to the Far East, but never got there. And then by January 15, it was in the UK, and it had its first UK owner in March of 15. So effectively, yes, it is a UK car. And it's been in long-term ownership, just been serviced. As Felix says, I don't think we've seen a nicer Veyron, and you've got to see it in the flesh to truly understand it.
Do you prefer Veyrons to Chirons?
Yep, 100%.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No. There's no.
Based on the styling or the fact that it was the first. It's the granddad.
I think it's quite a strange word to apply to a Veyron, and actually I think this is a great example. It's actually I think it actually looks quite subtle.
Yeah.
That sounds really impossible.
And quite small. Like a Chiron looks.
Actually, look at it next to that 512 TR.
Yeah.
Doesn't look big, does it?
Proportions are really, really nice on it, and it just sort of suits it in that specification. And driving that at full whack,
you wouldn't though, would you?
It was the first.
Who's mad enough to drive that at full whack?
It's mad. It's the first car that came
you'd
along,
have to be,
which I think truly shocked people by what it could do in terms of performance.
Especially as it was the fastest thing since the F1, wasn't it? And wasn't it? There was a crazy statistic that if a McLaren F1 and a Veyron did a drag race, the McLaren F1 could start on its own and get to 120 miles an hour, whilst the Bugatti Veyron is still at a standstill. The Veyron would set off and beat it to 200.
Is that right though? Really?
Well, don't doubt what. I read it on the internet.
Can we try this in another video with Peter Haynes?
Does that come off Wikipedia? That seems mad.
I remember hearing that story, actually.
Well, it might be.
Maybe
But
the McLaren F1 really slugs to 200 per month.
Apparently, VW...
0-60 in 14 seconds.
Yeah.
So VW or Bugatti, they spent apparently €4 million per car just to roll them out and sold them at a loss, just because it was like, look what we can do. But like 16 cylinders, 4 turbochargers, like I remember them developing the Veyron. Do you remember sort of the sneak press shots that they kind of leak out to the media when you were a struggling motoring journalist? But that car
struggle every day.
Was in development for like 10 years, and they were still struggling with it, over a huge amount of time, and they eventually got there. But as motoring cars go, it's a real sort of bookmark.
It is the Veyron is a motoring icon, and that's a word that's too often used because everyone says everything's iconic, but it is one of those cars that will. It's a car that in 50 years now people will still talk about.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not been 50 years, but we still talk about the McLaren F1.
Yeah.
And there are these cars in history, and it was such a game changer that people in 20, 30, 40 years will still be talking about the Veyron, probably in a way that they won't talk about the Chiron, and probably any number of Koenigseggs or Paganis and things like that, because the Veyron is kind of the daddy in what it set as a benchmark.
Yeah, and there's a sort of, if you rocked up to a car show in a Veyron in that sort of spec, there's a lot of other cars that would steal the show in terms of like kind of exotic looking performance, whereas there's a subtlety almost to that car, and a sort of just cynicism to its power and its performance that is unlike anything I can think of, really.
It is. It's fair to point out though that not between the three of us, if we pooled all of our money, we still couldn't afford 4 tyres, could we?
No way.
Probably not.
No. If we all emptied our bank accounts and said, have we got enough money for a set of tyres for the Veyron, we probably couldn't buy them.
Probably not. Probably not. But there are increasingly specialists emerging who are sort of coming out and saying, look, you don't have to spend 30 grand on a service, which that one just had actually, but you don't have to necessarily do that. So I think there are a few specialists coming out in America, some in Europe, who are kind of bringing the Veyron into some more realistic ownership running cost terms, shall we say.
That's brilliant.
So yeah,
I may just buy it.
I'm relieved to hear.
Now I know I can get it serviced for less than 30 grand. I'm all over it.
Yeah.
But that's a fair point. And anyway, look, these things are academic because, frankly, if you're going to spend £2 million on a supercar, I think you've got the money for the tyres.
Probably. Yeah.
And you're not going to give up your summer holiday either for having, paid for the service. Mega. Okay. Now, the other car I wanted to talk about, and I can't talk for a huge amount of time on it because I'm not super genned up on it, but I'm talking about it because people love a resto project, don't they? And not only do people love a resto project, they like a resto project that's, unique. And this is a unique resto project, and quite a lot of hard work's been done on that body. I know it doesn't look it, but somebody's gone over that with some wet and dry and done an absolutely corking job. But that is, for people looking at their computer monitors right now, that is perhaps surprisingly a Jaguar XK140. And obviously that is not a Jaguar XK140 as most people know and love those cars. It's a Michelotti bodied car, and it was bodied that way by Michelotti, not new, but very early in the car's life. And because I think the original car had an accident, so the damage was done to the original body. It went off, I think it had a Belgian owner at the time, and it went off to Michelotti and had that completely unique bodywork put on it, sort of a fixed head, fastback body, and I actually think it looks great. And
didn't have a C-type engine when it was new.
It did. Well, yeah. There's a bit of a story there, and again, this is where I'm a bit hazy. It did have a C-type engine, and the previous owner actually. I mean, it's sad for the car we're selling because it doesn't have that engine anymore. but the reason it was removed because it was reunited with the original C-Type
Okay, that's
chassis
nice.
that should have had it. So it's actually
Cool.
it's actually a really nice story.
Well, maybe when you're restoring that, you can just build. There's plenty of companies
C-Type
out there
spec.
that they can build you a C-Type spec engine.
Yeah.
And put it in there.
And I'm always drawn to things that I mean, you've got a blank canvas. I mean, you can paint it whatever colour you want it. You know, you can trim it any way you want to trim it. If you're not that bothered about originality, you're never going to see another one.
No.
Take that to the pub and take that to a Jaguar meet, and you're going to be the only.
Get thrown out. They'll be like, that's not a Jaguar.
Yeah, what is that? Why are you here, sir? So I think that's great, and people do. We haven't had a barn find to talk about on the podcast for quite a long time.
Yeah.
We haven't had a lot of them, but when we do have a when we do,
Fever at its best.
yeah, because people do like a blank canvas, don't they? So anyway, that's that one-off
Cool thing.
XK140.
Very cool thing.
Worthy of a closer look if you're into old Jags, and if you like classic British cars with a fastback fixed head body. You probably want a Bentley R-Type Continental, don't you, Will?
Well, that's a good segue.
Yeah.
I like that.
Do you like the way I did that?
I like that.
You must be in the market for an R-Type Continental.
Felix, who isn't?
There are,
Yeah,
they are, in terms of post-war British motoring, they don't get much more elegant. To behold an R-Type Continental. They're really good cars to drive. They'll sit at over 100 miles an hour. There's actually stories. It's got a great history, that car, right? Fully documented history, basically from new. And one of the more recent owners reunited the car with one of the first owners and the first owner's sons. And they brought out all the old pictures and they regaled him of stories of the demonstrator or the guy from Jack Barkley's showroom taking the client up the road in that car on the Westway at over 100 miles an hour in third gear, just to prove to him how capable the car was. And that is the very car, 6BMC, that was doing 100 down the Westway in London, which is just a cool story. And it's a really original car. It's never really been fully restored.
But it is a concours winner.
It is a concours winner, and it won the Pensioner's Choice at Salon Privé last year, I think it was. And
I can't believe I wasn't invited to vote in the Pensioner's Choice.
You would have voted with me. It's
You were too busy being taken to the loo.
Yeah, I was having my colostomy bag changed.
It's a genuinely cool, unrestored R-Type Continental. Great shut lines, manual, lightweight seats.
It's a good colour. What colour do we call that?
It's a great colour.
Green.
I want to call it pea green.
What a visceral image you've just presented.
Oh, God.
No,
Buy the car. Someone should buy it. It's amazing.
It's a lovely car.
It's a lovely car.
It is. And I think it's fair to say
Sorry.
Felix is like, he's lost
He's gone.
He's lost it.
He's just having visions of you getting wheeled to a toilet.
I'm just imagining me,
Having not been given my
me
opportunity to
wheeling you
vote.
to the toilet.
Give it a couple of years. Might be able to.
Yeah. And him going, I want to
I want to vote. Don't wheel me to the toilet. I want to vote.
Yeah. Goodness.
I've lost my. I've completely lost.
Okay, I'll
Great car.
No. But it's a lovely car, and I like the colour. I do like the colour. And
the interior is totally original. I don't know if we got any shots of the interior, but the interior is literally totally unrestored, original leather, amazing, like absolutely amazing. Kind of as you would want one.
I know what I was going to say before Felix lost it. I was going to say now is a really good time to be buying a Continental R-Type. I mean, in the sense that I think
I don't even know where you're going now.
He's still going.
No. I just
you will have people vote for you at Salon Privé.
No, okay. I know what you're trying to say. I know exactly. What you're trying to say.
I mean, it's 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
They were commanding very, very strong money, and they've come back a little bit. And they,
I mean, a lot.
Yeah.
So, as a reference point, 5 years ago in a London sale, we sold an R-Type Continental, which I don't think was quite as cool as that, and it made £900,000. Yeah. That car is estimated 450 to 550. So the low estimate of that car is half of what it was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, it might make a lot more, and it deserves to make a lot more, that car. But, from a market perspective, it's a good time to buy another Type Continental. I think it really.
Yeah. I agree. I think we need to move on because I think we went down a cul-de-sac on that car that clearly, got Felix a bit concerned. So let's move on. Now, we have a star car, as we always have in an auction. 250 GT short wheelbase. Question for debate. Best looking car ever made? Oh,
I think your generation would say that.
Yeah, you would.
What do you mean?
Our
Pensioners.
Our generation would probably say something a bit later, but it's up there, isn't it? It's up there.
That's not to discredit it.
No.
I mean it's very subjective, and yeah. But I think there are people. I think there are.
Oh, definitely. If this is on the top of many people's lists.
Yeah. I mean, I think that you could line up everything from something pre-war, a pre-war Talbot Largo or something, through the short wheelbase through to really modern stuff, and objectively get a bunch of people of all ages to step back and go, "What's the most beautiful car here?" It's in the running, isn't it?
It's up there. It's really up there, and that's telling, obviously, because so many recreations have been made of the short wheelbase and continue to be made to very high standards in this country today.
Yeah. And that's not a recreation. Let's hasten.
That is definitely not a recreation. It's a genuine car. It's a steel-bodied car. Didn't have any race history or anything crazy like that. Went through a few different.
Yeah, it's been very, I mean, anyone. If we're talking to people on this broadcast who might be in the market to buy it, they're going to have done their research. The car has been rebodied, but that's fine because stuff like that goes on. It's it's been around that car for a few decades, but it is it's a beautiful car and it's beautifully finished and it's ticks all the boxes.
We sold one in Paris, did we not? That was kind of comp spec, very pure, very original. Amazing thing, and that was 10 million euros.
Yeah,
11 million. Dollars.
So this is half the price.
It's basically half price at 5 to 6. So
you won't find an original short wheelbase for very much less than.
I don't think you could.
Than this car is being.
I really don't think you could. But it's a special car, and we're very, very honoured to have it here at Cliveden. And doesn't it look great in front of the house there? And
it does.
Very appropriate setting.
It really does look amazing, and it is a stunning car.
And you can do anything with it. I mean,
it's so eligible.
Do tour auto. You can race it because it's got a roll cage.
Yeah, it does.
And harness belts, and I think.
In fact, actually, one of our colleagues, Michael, was saying if he bought that car, he'd just go racing in it because it's just a great candidate just to sort of take round the track.
You could probably get that. You probably get that on the grid at the Revival, Le Mans Classic. Le Mans Classic. I mean, I'm not an expert on where that might be eligible, but you can do it. You can do anything with that,
or just take it to the pub,
or do the Modena Centauri, or whatever. So terrific. Okay, so on the final car of our selection, this is just a bit of a curveball. And I've thrown this into the conversation because people just like them. They're just, they're a bit Marmite, but people that love them absolutely do love them. And that is the Lamborghini LM002.
Yeah.
The Rambo Lambo.
Yeah. I mean,
we love them, right?
We do love them. And I heard it start up off the trailer, and it literally, I literally jumped at how good it sounded. The sort of V12 just barked into life.
That's a Countach engine, isn't it?
It's a Countach engine, yeah. And I don't think any car before or since can match the kind of bizarre specifications of an LM002. I think they're just.
I think in a world that is SUV mad, let's face it. All of the supercar manufacturers are launching their big SUVs, and all the mums in Chelsea want something big. Why? Sorry.
Are we talking about Lamborghini?
They want something carbureted Lamborghini shape.
all the mums in Chelsea want a big car.
Yeah,
They want an
they do. But
Acapulco blue.
And
that LM002 has found a massive following in recent years.
Yeah.
When I started in the business 15 years ago, they were like 20 grand, those things. They are now, what's the estimate? 225. So they've gone up tenfold in 15 years. And that screams to your point, Peter, about mums in Chelsea wanting something big.
but they're only 300. Here's the question.
Yeah.
How much of this is going to go out? Or it's live.
It's live, actually.
Too late. We can't
They
undo
didn't
it.
want it, they got it.
Our P45s, they're just printing them off in reception at the moment. But a Urus or an LM. I mean, I know one's somewhat more practical than the other, but
Something big in Chelsea or an LM.
do you think?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the Urus, so I'd have an LM002 just because it's different, it's cool, and you can just be a bit of
Somebody's revving a car quite noisily outside the marquee at the moment.
Probably our mechanic.
They're
trying to get
warming up my Golf.
Is that your goal?
It's been warmed up. to go home.
just
But no,
tyre warmers are on.
LM002 over an Urus all day, every day. Yeah.
People love them, and it's fun to have one here. And I mean, the one thing that was once said to me, and this could just be absolute nonsense, but it might be true, that they have a unique tyre size.
They probably
It's not a tyre that. I mean, the tyres are quite hard to get hold of. Is essentially what I'm saying, because the wheel is a very unusual size. Clearly, you can buy them because there are plenty of them, and they've all got tyres. But it's an unusual wheel tyre combo. But look, gents, I think we're probably going to have to wind, because we've
spoilt our.
honestly, I mean, we've just ruined this live broadcast. But never mind. So look,
Cliveden.
it's Cliveden House sale tomorrow here. The memorabilia goes under the hammer when?
11 a.m.
It's 12. What?
It's 11.
Oh, it's 11. Oh, yeah, no, it is 11. Oh,
Does he know?
can somebody get the marketing director?
It's 11. Cars at 3.
The cars are, I did know that. Cars are at 3. So
Online, website.
you can bid online. You can place an absentee bid. You can come here in person
Bid by
if
phone.
you happen to be in the UK. Anyway, get involved. You can watch online, and please follow the podcast, subscribe, like, and you can get it in all your usual places. Goodbye.